So recording this, you will have access to this later. I'm going to try to email it out actually like later on this evening so that you can see it. But welcome. If this is your first time going through how to build your initial diet, I'm excited for you to go through this. If you've done this before, it's going to be a little bit different this time, just because I've added a few new things. Hey, we learn over time, definitely not new to this one, but I think I'm going to share my whole desktop and then I will just kind of keep this other side closed a little bit. But I'll keep admitting people because I know I'm starting like right at 1. So, but that's because I really want you to get the most out of today. And then I want you to ask questions like, please, my goal is for every single person that came live, you are walking away with at the very least, your numbers and the outline to your diet. Okay. Because I can always do a part 2 and I really do love doing it. And, at the end, I am going to talk a little bit at the end about how to get access to the meal templates I've already built for, our 500 plus group of females that we have. But we're going to go through this. So if you're new to lean bodies, I hope you're not, but if you are, we've been around now for this is year 20 for Eric, which means I've probably been coaching now for 18 years. We are 95% female based, but I'll tell you what, I've had some of my best transformations with men. So it's not like and we're not just catering to just one. It just happens to be who we started to really coach years ago. But Eric does the same training program actually that all of us ladies do over and Look Like You Train. So, we're known here at LBC for, I would say, yes, I said prioritizing health and evidence-based, but I'd say, just common sense. Like, yes, you're going to see that we share some of the treats and things that I like to have that maybe people are like, oh my gosh, the chemicals, but at the same time, I'm 90% like single ingredient food. Like I'm kind of in the middle there. Eric's always been very common sense with things, but always using an evidence-based approach. For myself, I came from being overweight. I was 230 pounds. Tried everything. I come from a history of a mother that struggled. My mom ended up having a gastric bypass when I was in my 20s. So that was kind of like what I had watched my whole life. It's now been 21 years that I have kept that weight off. I can't say that I did it the right way. I did do Weight Watchers, which I will say there's some pluses and minuses there, but not prioritizing protein and certainly not prioritizing strength training. And so I feel really blessed that I at least got there, but I wasn't able to maintain there without basically starving myself or doing hours and hours of cardio. It's actually how I found Eric. I was, back in this day, there's really the online coaching space was forums. You went on a forum. I went on the Oxygen magazine forums. They had a big forum back then. And I was looking for someone that could help me because I knew that I would never coach my own personal training clients the way I was, and that I was really low calorie and I was just scared, like to increase the calories because I was gaining, fat. And then I was just a head case, right? So I found Eric online, his name on the line back then was Thunder because he was just known for dropping the hammer and just being very direct. And so I needed that. I needed someone to be like, you need to be eating more food. Like, what the heck are you doing? Through that, I came from, food issues, and he was used to working with competitors. So through that, when I got my first meal plan, I was like, oh my gosh, I need more flexibility. Like, I can't just have a meal plan. Now, keep in mind, I had come from macros. I had hired Kathy Savage first online, and I'm really aging myself, but she gave me macros. I became obsessed. I became hyper tracking. I lived on, it used to be called, I think, like My Fit Diary. Like, we didn't have, My Fitness Pal back then. And I was not even eating like normal foods because I was always just constantly obsessed with looking at labels and things. So then when I get in with Eric and I have a meal plan, I'm like, this is too restrictive. Like, I can't just have this. But what I did like is I was finally back to like eating in a routine and having like 4 to 5 meals a day. And that was like a set thing. And it really was good for my dieting hormones, ghrelin, my leptin, like they like that predictability, but I needed more flexibility. So I created what we now call the food sub calculator. I had approached Eric. I was just blogging for him as a client at the time. And I'm like, dude, you've got to have like this flexibility. Like, otherwise I'm going to like have major food issues. So I'm going to teach you how to use that, and you'll have free access to it. It's just on our website. Um, and I created a cookbook through this. And then, I ended up getting cancer through this. And, I just share all this because I am a busy mom. I am someone that hopefully can relate to a lot of you, and that I've come full circle. And I really believe that this is the way to approach your fat loss. So not only are you going to get like the calorie amounts that you should be using, you're really going to get the philosophy, the way that it's going to be sustainable for you. So today I'm going to show you like what an LBC, like what our clients' meal templates look like. We're going to go step by step where we're going to set up your initial calories. Okay. I'm going to teach you how to use the food sub calculator, hopefully divorce MyFitnessPal forever. Um, and then I will share this article in the chat if you want to, look at it. But really, this is more just to show you that this article was written. And you know what? How do I get back to the chat in this thing? Oh, here we go. There it is. This article was shared probably 15 years ago, and it's still applicable today. When you hear people like, it drives Eric crazy when he sees people like, the game has changed in dieting. No, it hasn't. Science is still science. Energy is still energy. Like, yes, now as we've gotten older, maybe our approach in terms of this intense activity and things needed to change. But for the most part, there's nothing new that we are, selling. This is a sample of what a meal template will look like for an LBC client. Now, we create two templates for our clients, one for training days and one for off days, simply because on training days, we tend to have more carbohydrates in there. On the off days, I tend to put a little more fats in there. But again, this is all then knowing that the client, like if they're like, you know what, my training day diet, like I just love having more carbs in my meal plan, like we're okay with that. We have flexibility around that. We just see it for variety. So this is kind of what a client would get in the beginning. But keep in mind, it's also based on, I get a big, huge client questionnaire from them, and they give me the specific things they like. And I'll show you like a specific one at the end. So you're going to really see like, oh, wow, this like person, this is exactly the thing she likes to eat. And we plug that in, right? And this is based, so what we're building is not something you have to be locked into forever, but you need to have a blueprint. You need to have a meal plan in place that you're like, if I had the perfect dieting day, this is what would be on my diet. That's what we're going to create today. And then I'm going to show you how over time we create what's called meal cards. So I never go back to MyFitnessPal. I never go back to a tracker again. What I do is I create this initial diet, and from there, I build meals off of that. Where if I'm going to Chick-fil-A and I'm subbing out a whole meal, I build it, I create an actual card, written it, or I put it, like I have a lot of clients that put it in their phone, and then those become your new like meals, because you want to start to see like your lifestyle with eating, whether you're dieting or you're like at maintenance, the meat and potatoes of your diet are the same. Okay. So I'm going to do a little bit of talking at first, and then we're going to get out our index card or your piece of paper and do everything. So before and today I'm going to teach you how to create a fat loss diet. But if you were to do a maintenance diet, because we're going to first find that is we need to find someone's maintenance calories. Now, these are rough assumptions, and this is based on not just 20 years of coaching, but it's all the little calculators you can go on and like figure out your, basal metabolic rate and all of that. It really ends up roughly becoming 14 to 15 times body weight. Okay. If you're an outlier in terms of when we get into the fat loss numbers, we'll talk about that. But you're going to assume that your maintenance should be. Now, if you're looking at that and you just did the math, you're like, holy crap, Amy, I just took out my calculator and I put, I'm 175 pounds. And you're saying, let me just go do that really quick. You're saying that, 175 times 14 is 2450. I should be maintaining at 2450. Yes, you should. Theoretically, in a healthy body that has not been a psycho dieter all their life, you should. I weigh between 135 and 40, and I maintain at 2150. I eat 2,150 calories when I am maintaining. When I am dieting, I just drop by 20 to 30% caloric deficit, and that's where I diet. Now, years ago, I was maintaining at like 1,300 calories. He already knew I had some major metabolic adaptation, because he already knows, theoretically, we already know as coaches and just through all the data, like this is where you should be maintaining. So You're going to just do the calculation on that. And let me come down to this index card really quick, just so you can actually do this first part. Sorry, excuse the scroll. You're going to come and just put at the top of your card your current weight right over here and what your maintenance calories should be. Okay. And we'll come back to this. We'll be coming back. All right. Okay. Now I'll do a little bit of educating here. So fat loss calories are going to be anywhere between 10 to 12 times body weight. We're going to start you right in the middle at 11 times body weight. This is so that one, you've got some room to be able to make adjustments over time, right? And two, the goal is to be able to eat as much as you can while still losing fat. So I went to a seminar down in Florida this last year, Alan Aragon, Lane Norton, all there teaching all their studies, right? And Bill Phillips got up there, Dr. Bill Phillips, and he gave a really just shocking study. And it was like they took a bunch of females and they put them through a program where half the group was at a 20% caloric deficit and the other group was at like a 35% caloric deficit. Okay. And trust me, that's not that crazy of a caloric deficit. The ones that were at the 35 caloric deficit, while they did lose more scale weight, it was like in a 2-week period, they lost it was like 2.4 pounds. Of the 2.4 pounds, over half of it was muscle. Okay. So you don't want an aggressive caloric deficit. Like you want to get here in about a pound a week. I'm just being real. Like stop thinking you're going to lose more than that. And if you are losing more than that, you're losing muscle. And then you're going to have a lower basal metabolic rate when after this is all said and done. Okay. So we're starting at 11 times body weight. So if you weigh 150 times that by 11, that's going to give you your number. Okay, a couple things to know just in case you're not familiar with like macro tracking or how to track your macros or count your macros. A gram of protein, is going to be 4 calories. A gram of carbohydrates is going to be 4 calories, and a gram of fat is 9 calories. This is so if you ever have a label, so for like a food label, and you don't have the calorie amount at the top, you don't need it because you can do the reverse math. You can go on that label and go, oh, this label says, in fact, let me get this out, my Quest cookie here. Okay, this label says I've got 17 grams of fat. Okay, 17 times 9, and I do the math. Okay, I've got that many calories from fat. Okay, this has 19 grams of carbs. Okay, 19 times 4 equals X. Oh, and it has 15 grams of protein. 15 times 4 equals, add those 3 numbers up, and you'll get the total that's on that label. Okay, so that's just an important thing to kind of know. Okay. So we're going to go through this all together, but I'm going to first talk to you what we're going to be doing. So the first thing we're going to be doing, adding into our diet, is we're going to be adding in our protein. It's the most important thing. I don't have to read all this to you, but hey, protein triggers muscle protein synthesis. I mean, I could go on and on about how important protein is in the body, but let's just say that most people are grossly under eating, females especially. This is why when we've done these 21 days, the last time we did the 21-day challenge, I honestly was shocked at how many females were only eating maybe 50 grams of protein a day. Okay. So you're going to want to set, all the data, all the science research shows out there. It's actually technically about 0.7 to 1.2 if you're really looking at where they're saying, but we always say like 0.8 to 1.2, but just for the simplest of math, just set it around 1 gram per pound of current weight. Okay, now unless you if you weigh I'm talking like morbidly obese, so let's say like you're only 5'1" and you weigh 250, you could set that more at like an ideal weight just because you're already going to be eating more. But we'll talk about that, right? But listen, don't ever be really concerned about your protein being too high. That's just old myths and that, oh, it's bad for your kidneys and things like that. Just it is a cornerstone to effective dieting, and it's the thing that it's going to keep you full. It's the hardest. It takes the most work for our body to break it down, which is a good thing. We want it to have to work for that. That's just keep that in mind. Second, believe it or not, before you add any carbs and other fats, you got to add in your omega-3s. And if you're not already eating fish oil, this is the one supplement. We are simplest people here at LBC. Like I will tell you right now, we do not push supplements. But there's a couple. Creatine's going to be another one, but that doesn't have calories, so I'm not going to talk about that today, but we're just building our diet. You got to factor these in. Now, no two fish oil products are alike. I have clients, I had one just this last week sent me her fish oil bottle because I needed to program in her fish oil. She would have needed to take 10 capsules to hit this EPA DHA total. So let me show you a label because I want to teach you how to read this, okay? So this is my fish oil. So you can see the serving size is 2 soft gels. If you see here the EPA and DHA, the EPA is 800 and the DHA is 600. Like I said to you up here, and just remember, we're just adding zeros, right? 1,800 to 3,000 grams. That's the milligrams, right? So I need 1,800 to 3,000. That's a big range, but I don't want to, technically, I want to be in the middle. I don't want to be on the low end. Think of like our thyroid and our hormones. You never want to be on the low end. You want to be optimized, right? So if I come back down, so if I total this is 1,400 milligrams for 2 capsules. So I'm already not enough. Remember, I got to be at like 1,800. So if I do 2 servings, that's going to put me at the 2,800 or 2.8. So I'm going to take I could technically even take just 3 capsules, right? Technically, if you look at that, I'd be still in that middle range, but I'm going to take 2 servings. So I need to add that in, that's going to be 30 calories that I got to add in. So let me come back down to my index card. I'm going to show you this one more time because you can do this part here. So now we've got our current weight at the top. You've got your maintenance calories. Step 1 was to figure out that your body weight times 11. If you are an outlier, put it in the chat. An outlier, I mean, you think you have 50 plus more pounds to lose, okay? Because you may be like short with, you have more body fat. So here's the thing, when you have more body fat, you have more regulatory hormone protection, which means we can actually start your calories a little bit lower, like 9 times body weight, because you've got like, it's just one, it's a lot of food also to eat. Let's keep that in mind. You're going to be trying to, so, and anyone that's even like, you're questioning it, you can always shoot me an email. I'm really good about even sending back videos. Okay, fish oil. Here's the thing with fish oil. Again, I could probably do like an entire like presentation on why fish oil is so beneficial for you, but we don't get enough of them in our diet. I mean, even with some of the seafood, you're just not going to be getting it in. It's just such a more bang for your buck type of supplement, better skin, better hair, better nails, everything. But just making sure you're getting that, you need fats in your diet for even your hormones. So you want to be programming that in. Okay, so going back down here, you're going to see that, actually, no, I don't want to do that. Just stay where you are because I don't want to get you too ahead of yourself. Okay, so after we've set our protein in there, we already know it's going to be like 1 gram per pound. Then you get to actually fill in the rest with your carbohydrates and your fats. Now, like I said to you, I kind of balance them out. Like on my training days, you're going to see that I have more carbohydrates in there. And then on my off days, you're going to see that I have more fats in there. Okay. And question wise, I will come back to those in just a minute. So you're going to play with it a little bit. This is where we're going to really try to go through, like, what do you eat on a daily basis that you really want to be plugging, into this diet, right? So, once you've accounted for like your protein and stuff, and we'll go through that, that you're going to fill in the rest. Now, carbohydrates being one of them and fats being the other. How many carbs? Okay, well, there is no like strict number, but what we can do is we do know there is a floor to how low you want to go with your fat. So we're going to actually do that one kind of first when we get ready to do this math in a second, in that you do not want to go below about 20% of your total calories for your fats. It's linked to affecting our hormones, and so we'll do that calculation in a second as well. Okay, so then we're going to break it down so that you're going to know everything, and then afterwards, when we start to get specific into the diets, you can use places like Calorie King, MyFitnessPal, our food calculator to kind of really get like the meat and potatoes. But we're going to go through it here. But first, before like, everybody gets so excited to work on the numbers, right? They're like, okay, what are my calories? But you haven't even stopped to look at your day and like, what would be optimal for you in your lifestyle and how long you have waking hours. And maybe you're a nurse that has long times before you can get something to eat. And so they need to be like, portable. My point is, you first got to start with choosing the amount of meals that you prefer in your life. There is no, it's a myth if you think you need to have 6 small meals. I will say this though, this is the one caveat, like to deciding on meals where some people are like, I only want 3 meals. Okay, if you've got like 175 grams of protein to eat in a day, 3 meals is just not, it's going to be pretty much impossible for you because it's huge amount of protein at each meal. What I would suggest for the person that's like, I really, really am so used to only eating like 3 meals, it's really hard. I would do 3 meals and maybe like a shake, like 3 meals and like just to get that extra protein in because you'll find that you're going to be able to get your carbs and fats in, but protein in a 3 meal setup is going to be hard. But I want you to like visualize your day and start to really see, because again, whether you're dieting or in maintenance, this needs to be a lifestyle for you. And so it's kind of like, so what I tell people to do is get out another piece of paper and you're just going to outline what I always just do it this way, how many meals you want to have. I wrote it this way because you're going to start to build upon that. So for me, I have 5 meals a day, but you're going to see something in a minute. When I'm dieting, believe it or not, I actually get rid of my meal one and I only do EAAs before I eat breakfast. And then, so the only thing that changes in my life from maintenance to dieting is when I'm in maintenance, I have a pre workout, like full on meal. And when I'm dieting, I take that away. I mean, a few other things that I shave off, but it's really shown me that, listen, I got to stop getting in that dieting mindset because this is a lifestyle. And all it is that I have less calories during certain phases and more calories during other phases. But the principles of meal prepping and building a meal outline for the day is very necessary. So you're going to start there. And then what I want you to do, so whether you've chose, 3, 4, or 5 meals, I want you in a perfect life, pick out the 5 protein sources you would be using. You got to have a protein source at each meal, or 4 if it's only 4 meals. Okay. So you're going to, like if you think, now this doesn't have to be every day. Remember, I'm going to teach you how to sub this all out. This is like, hey, Amy, in a perfect day, choosing my favoriteest things ever, ever, ever. This is what I'm going to be doing. Okay. So I chose eggs here. My meal 2 is post workout. So I put a protein shake, ground turkey, my chicken for my dinner, and then I have a little like snack at night, my Greek yogurt. Okay. So that's what you're going to write on there. Okay. Then I want you to even take it a step further. And you don't have to put, so and the way I like to write it out is I always put my protein first at each meal, my carb next at each meal, and my fat. And you're going to learn this is just going to get easy for you as you start to see the way that I sub things in and out. But it's proteins first, carbs, fat second, fats third. Now, this again is I want you to see your lifestyle and how you like to eat. So, like some people, like their dinner, maybe they don't even put a fat source there because they're like, you know what? I really just like to have a salad at night. I don't like to have a heavy dinner. Whereas I'm the opposite. My dinner is one of my biggest meals because I want to eat everything with my children. And so that I want to have a protein there, I want to have a carb there, and I want to have a fat there because I'm going to show you how you can divide you can divide your meals evenly throughout this whole practice. So you could have a carb, a protein, and a fat at every meal. And then I'm going to teach you how to shift things around based on your lifestyle. But just write down kind of like in a perfect world, what would I be eating? Think of single ingredient foods first, or else things like a tortilla, a sandwich, things like that. Okay. Now we're going to break it down and you're going to get the index card out where we're going to do this math. Okay. So as we kind of went over already, at the top, you're going to have your maintenance number there. Okay. Then you're going to have your fat loss number. Okay. Mine was, I'd said 11 times body weight. So it's going to be 1650. Now we're going to set our protein, which remember it's times 1 gram per pound. So now we need to start to do the math. Okay. So we'll come down to our card. For me, I got to set my protein. I'm going to take 150 grams of protein times 4. Because remember, there are 4 calories per gram. That's going to take 600. I don't know if you can see the red. I'm trying to show it like a bank account here. Okay. So you've got 1650 to start with. I got to deduct already the 600 calories that are going to go towards my protein. That's my 150 grams. I also need to deduct my fish oil. Mine, I have to take 2 servings of it. So it's going to be 30 calories, right? And I'm going to deduct that. That's now going to tell me that I have 1,020 left. Okay. Remember what I told you earlier that I was going to teach you first to do the fat floor because we know that's one thing that has to be set and then we'll fill the rest in. So we'll come back up here. We added in our EFAs, so we're now at that one. Now, figuring out your fat floor, you don't want to go below the 20%. So you're going to take your total calories and then take a percentage of those calories. And I literally just went to Google, okay, and this is what I did. I just said 25% of the 1650. What is it? It was 413. Then I wanted to see my range, because remember, like I told you, you might build one diet where you have a training day template that you're really going to keep it more like carbohydrate dominant. And then maybe your other day, you're going to keep it a little more fats. So I did 25% and I did 35% just so I could see those numbers. Okay. I chose the 25% because I'm making this like my training day diet. That left me with 413 calories. Okay. So you're like, well, how do I know how much fat to do? Because remember, I told you it's 9 calories per gram. So now you're going to take 413, divide it by 9. And that tells us that your grams of fat are going to be 46 grams of fat. Okay. So we deduct that from the 1,020. So 1,020 minus 413 leaves me with 607 left for what? For our carbs. I take the 607, I divide that by 4, and it tells me that I have 151 grams of carbs. Okay. So now total overall, I have 1,650 calories. I have 150 grams of protein, 151 grams of carbs, and 46 grams of fat. Does that all make sense so far? Now, I have 5 meals a day. So if I'm having 5 meals a day, I just like to put this on my little sheet. So I just kind of know roughly, like if I'm eating 5 meals and I've got 150 grams, I'm going to divide that. And this is roughly what I need to have, because you're going to have trace protein amounts from other foods that you eat. But this is, I need to hit 25 to 30 grams at each meal, or else I'm not going to hit my total for the day. Okay. And this again is just teaching you kind of how to divide it right now, pretty much evenly. You're going to see in a minute, like, that's okay, Jennifer, come back. I mean, we'll have a recording you can watch, but so this is just so that you have it. You can shift things over time, but let's just get the foundational thing down, right? Okay. So like we said, we were going to plot our initial meals. So this is what it's going to start to look like. And this is where I know you're like, whew, this starts to get overwhelming, because we had that little meal outline where we started to play with it. This is where like Calorie King or places like that are going to help you. So you're like, okay, Amy, in a perfect world, on my meal one, I would love to have eggs and oats for the morning and maybe some fruit. So remember, we had a protein amount. I need to hit that 25 to 30 grams. So this is where you could just go to like a Calorie King, or, and be like, okay, egg whole, find out the calories for it. You can also do it in our food sub calculator. So, but you're going to have to do a little bit of playing with it. So our food sub calculator, typically once a meal plan is already built, it allows you to sub things, back and forth without needing to do the math yourself. But you can use it, like I said, to first build this. But now, if you've already done a little bit of like, now that you have that math of your macros, you can see I have some little cheat sheet notes on my little card. I pretty much know that based on 1,650 calories, I should roughly have about 330 calories at each meal. And then I should hit that 25 grams of protein. The rest of it, you just fill in based on the things you like. I kid you not. Like, this is where people overcomplicate it. They think that it needs to be like, a certain way. No. So then what ends up happening, so this is what it looks all typed up, is this person like has the whole eggs with 200 egg whites, because that just happened, if she tried to build it with just 2 whole eggs, it didn't give her enough protein. So then that's what made her go, this is where you got to go play with it to get that. So then she's got 1 whole egg, 200 grams of egg whites, 30 grams of oats, 60 calories of fruit. And that's the macros for that one, right? Post-workout, she's going to have her shake, and then she's going to choose, we leave it with our clients. We let them choose any low-fat carbohydrate, and they can go watch this little video. And it's like just an opportunity to have something fun. Maybe you want a Skinny Cow ice cream. Maybe you want a McDonald's ice cream cone. You want, some cereal, a bagel, like whatever, right? Meal 3, ground beef with couscous. Meal 4, chicken and potatoes with either olive oil or salad dressing, and then this Greek yogurt peanut butter. If I was to do the math, it comes back up to that 1,650, and roughly the protein hits it, right? Now, I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, but this, I don't want to be stuck, eating this. And this one also, here's the off days. So this person, all I did different, and this is all you would have to do too, is since you're not, so you build the same exact plan as your off day, But at your post-workout meal, since you're not training, notice what I did. Instead of having a carb, I just had a fat. So this made this day already about 30 grams less of carbs, a little more fats. And there you go. I have a little bit of variety. Okay. Now, the importance with building a diet that fits to you. So as you see here, this person is these are all just divided evenly. Well, I don't like to eat that way personally. So this is when I'm dieting, this is what I do. Like I told you at the beginning, I actually train in the morning. So, not early, but I don't train in fact, I don't train until noon. But here's the thing. I've learned over the years for myself, lifestyle wise, I am more hungry in the evenings. And if I am going to cheat on my diet, it's more than likely going to happen at night. So I stack a lot of my meals in the afternoon intentionally. When I am dieting, I would much rather just have a serving of EAs because you cannot train on an empty stomach. So you got to eat before you train, whether it be a half a scoop of protein powder or essential amino acids. You do not want to go into a strength training workout in a catabolic state. So keep that in mind. So since I can't, then this is my alternative to not also boost up my calories, right? Now, if you notice on here, the other thing I do strategically, which I got to move this chat thing, is my lunch and dinner, I intentionally keep the calories exactly the same so that as I start to build more meal cards, because I build all these meal cards based off of that original. In fact, let me find some really quick just so you can really see what they're like. Where are they? So that I have other alternatives because no one's going to want to stick. This is not sustainable just to have a meal plan like this. So many people will grunt it out and they'll do things like this, but you can't stick to it long term. Okay, where are they? Did I move them? Sorry, guys. Don't tell me. Okay, well, I'll find them in a second. Oh, of course, they're all stacked nicely here. So, and I'll show you in a second what these look like. So for me, I strategically have, meals 2 and 3 exactly the same. And if you notice here, like once I built that original diet, I go through, and this is where the food sub calculator becomes amazing, is I already have 2 options on here. So like I left this one here with the question mark because I wanted to show you how to do it. So let's say you build your dream diet with like chicken at this meal, you want, codfish at another one. But you're like, Amy, after 2 weeks, like I'm really sick of that. Well, this is where the food calculator, do not go back to MyFitnessPal and recreate a whole meal. Stop doing that. You need to start to establish a meal routine. Your body likes it. Your hormones really like it. It likes to see the predictability. When people are like dieting or attempting to diet, but they cheat on their diets all the time, you're in what we call accidental maintenance. But your body doesn't see it as maintenance, even though you're not losing fat. It actually sees it as a stressful dieting phase because you're not consistent. So this is why this is very important to have like that consistency around it. So let's say you build this initial diet and now you're like, now where do I go from here? Because I really don't want to eat, ground beef and chicken breast, those 2 options forever. Then you come to our food calculator because now you've already built it. And you're like, Amy, I don't want to have, my beef and couscous tonight, but I want to have something different. You'll come in here, you'll put beef, and everything's going to pop up. So this one I used the 96% lean, right? I've got 125 grams of it. Now, let me scoot this over a little bit. Hold on. This is when I start to get too many windows in here. 1 second. Okay, let me scoot this over. Then what's going to pop up is every protein source possible. Now, if it's not in here, we can always add it in. We add it in. But it's not going to let you sub it for a carb, and it's not going to let you sub it for a fat. You can't make a mistake. So you're literally like, this is why you'll see some cheeses, low-fat cheeses, believe it or not, are protein sources because there's more protein in them than there is fat. So you could come through here and you're like, I could come and have, we've got clients in Australia. So I want to have some kangaroo, right? So I'm going to come through. I'm going to see that 125 grams of ground beef equals 207 grams of kangaroo. Now, keep in mind, the calories are what is always going to be the default of our food calculator. We're trying to teach you with calories in, calories out. Stop stressing over the carbs and fats so much, right? The breakdown. Because look here, technically, the beef has more fat than the kangaroo. So you're really getting a little bit less protein, say, in the beef, but that's okay because remember, we've got some buffer room here, and this is the benefit of using something like the food calculator. So now for tonight, I can just have the kangaroo. Let's say I want to come through and I don't want to have my couscous tonight. And I look here and, how much does it say? 165. Whoops, let me go back to it. 165. Let me go back to the generic couscous because that's not mine, but you'll see all sorts of ones in here, okay? 165. Again, I can go through here. I could sub it for a fruit. I could sub it for a bagel. I could sub it. But let's say that you're like, my food's not in there, Amy, and I have this bread I want to use. Okay, just pick anything. Just click on whatever comes to your finger, hit substitute, because now you're going to do the reverse math and figure out the calories on your couscous. And you're going to see that 165 grams equals 182 calories. So let's say you have some bread that is 90 calories each. That's a perfect sub. Let's say you have bread though that's only 150 calories and you're like, well, how do I sub that? Because I just had the couscous, it's 180, my bread's 150. Okay, 150, add 30 calories of mayonnaise, add 30 calories, meaning like what I would do is if I was creating this as a meal alternative, I would create the whole thing and now I would have it on what we, call our meal card. So I'm going to stop the share for a minute so you can kind of see here. So this is kind of how I create mine. This is my OG meal. This is what was on my original template. This is the macros of that. These are alternates. Now, let me just read some of these to you so you can start to see like how creative I get. So instead of having my chicken couscous and cashews, I could have ground beef with pasta with cheese on top of it. I could have steak and potatoes with cheese. I could have my top sirloin. I could have my, where's my other? I could have a grilled Chick-fil-A sandwich, a 5-count grilled nuggets, and 12 grams of almonds. Like that all equals that. So what I start to do is once I've built this initial template, I just go back through and I start creating meal after meal after meal so that I have variety and I no longer see this like as a diet. Okay, does that make sense? Let me go back to some of these questions. Oh, okay. Thank you for putting that up there with the Revive. Yeah. Another brand also would be krill oil. Okay, yeah. The Revive is good. I would say Nordic Naturals is also another really good brand if you can't get the Revive. But I'll tell you, look at the back of the labels. I used to not look at that stuff and I would go to Costco or wherever and be like, this is a good price. But then you've got to take like 7 of them to equal it. So you're going to spend just as much. You might as well buy the one that you need the least amount of, because technically the Revive one, you could just take 3 gel caps a day. Same with, I believe Nordic Naturals, they're almost exactly the same. Okay. And it's just worth having. So once you have your numbers, like I said, then you start to design it the way you have. Like, yes, first, just divide it evenly, just so that you don't make mistakes in moving, like foods and getting sloppy and forgetting something. Account for everything and then base it on your lifestyle and go, okay, because there'll be times where I will create a meal plan just like this for a client. And then 2 weeks into it, they're like, you know what? Now that I've done this for 2 weeks, I realize in the morning, I am really not that hungry. Could we like cut that in half and let's sprinkle the rest of those calories into meals 4 and 5? Because you have to see this as like, what's going to make it sustainable for me? Like for me having enough calories at dinner really makes it easy to enjoy everything with my children. If they're having tacos, I can have tacos too. If I'm making chili, like I can have that with them too. And that's, just super important. Now, maybe this overwhelms you. And I mean, I can appreciate that. One thing in our, I told you how I would tell you how you could get these, well, let me answer these questions first here. Let me go into the chat. Okay. Because there's something about taking dieting breaks. Okay. Let me scroll back up. Okay. So if you have not been, so you can still use this diet template. This is where I like that we always teach people like, even if you've been taking it, you think you've been dieting for a long time. I always tell people at least test the deficit with your body, meaning build the diet based on 11 times body weight. Test it for 2 weeks, meaning follow this to a T for 2 weeks, do your stats, all of those things. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, you're going to have some signs if you've got some metabolic adaptation. If you are the same on the scale, I'd say give it another solid 2 weeks anyways. I mean, 2 weeks technically is never really enough time to kind of assess the body. But then let's say that it stays, let's say like the scale goes up in the first 2 weeks and you're supposed to be what should be theoretically a deficit. That's already your sign that you're going to need to take the dieting break, which means you're going to start bumping calories up. Okay. Now, I have a couple resources on reverse dieting because that's a whole other beast in itself. And I only say that because it is a mind game. And I say this coming from my own, experience with it, where it is hard to know that you need to eat more. You are trying to rev the engine back up, and you need to do it in a systematic way where you don't gain unnecessary fat. Because technically, right now, your body's seeing 11 times body weight as maintenance. How are you going to get up to true maintenance without gaining fat? Now, it is inevitable you will gain some, but what it's doing is it's setting you up for future fat loss. So that's the first thing I had to do when I work with Eric. And this isn't everyone, but what happened was he put me in a caloric deficit, 11 times body weight. I gained, like, I mean, and we know it's not true fat. This is also like stress. It's inflammation. Your body is very stressed from that, right? So I had like probably a scale showed like a 4 pound thump. A lot of that's water, and some of it ended up coming back off. But he knew immediately. He's like, "All right, it is you. We're going up from here." And I was like, "Are you kidding me? I'm already feeling uncomfortable here." So it leveled out. I would say through my whole reverse diet, I probably gained 4 to 5 pounds. But what it did was I went from pretty much maintaining at 12 to 1300 calories to maintaining at around 2000. Okay. So then when I finally went down to say 1600 calories after I could maintain at 2000, now my body finally sees that as a deficit and I can now see progress. So it's like why you have to take it back up. And it's really hard for people to, understand that, in the moment, but you got to talk yourself through it. Because here's the thing, tell yourself, if you are not losing at 11 times body weight, what are you going to go to 9? Like, how sustainable is it going to be? What are you going to squeak out? And even if you can go a little bit lower, what, to squeak out a pound or two? Like, that's not, going to work. Hold on, I got to lower my hand on there. Like, so you got to talk yourself through it. Like sometimes I'll even let my own clients, I'm like, all right, you're so adamant on wanting to go lower. Let's go to 9 times body weight. One, it becomes really hard to stick to it because it's less calories, right? And two, they see that there's hardly any change at all, if any. Sometimes, in fact, the body really doesn't like the low aggressive calories that, guess what? The scale will be like, I had a client, she just was really stubborn. So I said, okay, we'll go to 9. Let's see if you can do it. The next biweekly, 2 weeks later, the scale was showing like a 1.8 pound increase. Now, I knew it was just water because that's inflammation. She's not eating enough to actually gain fat. But it was finally the eye opener that she needed, that I cannot continue to try to chase this. I need to take the dieting break. But again, start with this template because you want to make, as you increase calories, that protein stays the same and you just start adding in calories, carbs, and fats. I systematically do it where on the training days, I'll start adding in more carbs. On that client's off days, I'll add in more fats. And I do it in a couple steps, meaning like if we're at 11 right now and we need to get to 15, do the math. Like what I do is I'm like, okay, well, their maintenance should be 2150. Their dieting is 1650. That's a 600 calorie difference. And I want to do that probably in 3 bumps, which means I'm only going to bump up by 200 calories each time. Like I usually like to do it. So that's going to take no less than a 6 week, time period if you're doing a reverse diet. But that is a whole other beast, right? Like it is definitely, but we talk a lot about dieting breaks. If you're not familiar with our Look Like You Train group, that's kind of what I want to talk a little bit about. So our meal templates, as I mentioned, over the years, we've really tried to find a way where we could help clients more on a group level, but still satisfy what we see as a customized diet. Because I'll be honest, I really hate when coaches charge people $300 to $400 a month and they're giving you macros. Like, are you kidding me? Macros will take me I could literally give you your macros in an email for free. Like, that's not your problem. Your problem is not your macros. Your problem is setting up a lifestyle for you, like a sustainable approach. Okay. And then obviously the consistency, sticking to it, not questioning yourself. There's all that, right? Um, so let me see here. It says, just to clarify, I'm building this initially. Is the maintenance weight my ideal? Okay, you're 230. How tall are you, Jack? Because then I can just tell you right now on it. But being, if this is Jack and it's not this is not his wife. Okay, so yeah, you are actually going to start at like 11 times body weight. You are, and you'll be surprised. Don't do it based on your ideal. Like, like guys, typically guides say like, and don't just walk daily and strength train. Don't add any cardio. You won't need it. Do 11 times body weight. Give yourself a couple weeks. You may need, if you've been under eating or skipping meals, you may need to up regulate a little bit. But you're 6'1". No, you don't need to. In fact, some guys, I'll start them at 12 times body weight. Okay, so back to look like you train. So let me show you. So our clients, over the years, like I said, we started our look like you train, and it was really just a training group. And then over time, people, we all know that the driving force in a lot of our progress is going to be our nutrition. That you can be doing everything in the gym, but if you're not eating either enough, or in the case of fat loss, like you've got to make sure you're in a caloric deficit. You have to be making sure you're doing those things. So what we did about a year ago, actually I think it's been 9 months now, is we were like, how can we give more to these people in the look like you train? So what I did was I built diet templates based on every basic 5-pound increments. Okay. So if you join our look like you train, so it's $75 a month, right? What comes with that is, of course, our training program that has always been something for, we're 4+ years into this group, right? Is now, and it's not only just the nutritional templates. Every week we go live. It is our version of group coaching. We just did a case study. A client of mine, her name's Vicky. Vicky was in our Look Like You Train. She joined last year in June. She lost 20 pounds on her own, just doing the challenges that we do within our Look Like You Train, following the template herself. And then 3 months ago, she actually won one of the challenges and jumped up into coaching with me. And so now she's doing coaching, and she's lost 30 pounds in 12 months, and 20 of it all just by coming to the live calls, because all of these, so let me show you. So let's say you weighed 155 pounds. I've already built out. Now, this isn't going to be based on the foods you like, because like I said to you, I built it based on the foods I liked, but that's not what matters, right? It's just the numbers that mattered the most. So you're going to come in, if you're in our group, you actually download your document so you're able to edit it. The PDF, you can also make a copy of, because you do want to be able to see that. But then you come in, make a copy of it, and you just start erasing the things you don't want. Like I've already put 2 options on here, but you technically could get rid of both if you wanted. You could say, I want on here this, and then I build an off day. So we have this for every single, and we're always making it better. So for example, this last round, people are like, hey, because most of these, unless you're really light in weight, I think about around 125 pounds and below, I believe it's 4 meals in all of the templates. The rest of them have like 5. But what I'm now going back through is I'm going to start creating more like 4-meal templates for some of the pounds. So just so that we have more variety, because again, we really want people to see success. The other bonus is, since we started 11 times body weight, we actually do it together. So every round starts. So like we say in Look Like You Train, ideally people are staying with us for a year. I say that because you're never going to get any lifestyle habits in 12 weeks. Now, we only open the group every 12 weeks, and you're only obligated to stay for 12 weeks at minimum, because that's like how long a round is. But the goal is, come in here for a year, give us your trust fully for 12 months, and do everything like we say. Come, even if you can't come to the live calls, we record them. This round, we're actually adding an entire course that now we're going to have modules so that they can have access to that too, so that they can go through and learn. Because our goal is, I want everyone that is self-driven to be able to, at a $75 price point, get our coaching. Of course, like what we learn through the challenges, because we meet for these weekly calls, right? And they have accountability and we have check-ins. What they'll start to learn through time is, if 6 months in, you're still struggling, then it's a you issue. And then you know what? Come into coaching, then try one-to-one coaching. but don't do it if you don't need it, right? Like we're now giving everything away that we share meal cards, in the group. Now we have 585 females in there, right? So imagine this last time we played behavior bingo, for example, that was like our thing. The first person that got bingo, they got 3 months of coaching. And in the behavior bingo, some of the things that you had to share were like, share your meal prep for the week, share your meal card. And it's just, even myself being a veteran, dieter, it is so fun to see other people's ideas. And I realized that that's a big part of our success is having like-minded people and ideas from other people. So all of that to say that if while you were creating your diet template today, if you don't want to do it and you're like, I am overwhelmed with even doing this, this is just not up my alley, you're going to want to join Look Like You Train. Because even if you didn't even do the training, I've said to people, even if you weren't strength training, the dieting piece alone and you coming into our group, I mean, I teach you how to reverse diet. Like this isn't just for people that are, at dieting. Like you come to the calls and we talk about like, okay, everybody at your 2-week check-in, what was your results like? What was your progress? And if you miss the calls, they email me. And what do? I send you a loom back and I'm like, all right, this is what you need to do. Like we don't have any secrets here at LBC. If there's one thing I've learned over all the years is that you give everything away. That's not your problem. Most people, it's a lack of trust in the process. And when you don't trust the process, the result, we know the stats, you will sabotage, you will doubt, you will question, and this is why people fall off. Whereas if you are like tunnel vision in a group, like we teach everyone in there, like we are in it together, and you've got enough success stories coming at your brain to see that, you're more likely to stick with it. And I know just from like, I give the analogy of like skincare, for example. I know nothing about skincare. Like I have a friend that she's an esthetician, she knows everything. I could be sold the most horrible things because I don't have a way of analyzing the data. That's the same with you. Okay. That's why we're in right now an era of, they call it a trust recession, where women have been burned. We just came through an information age where there's so much information, but it's like what to follow. Someone's telling you intermittent fast in your perimenopause and menopause age, which is like absolutely asinine. But how are you to know? This person's got 1 million followers, right? But this is why it's also important. Like once you go all in on a method, you got to go all in for the sake of execution. Because if you don't and you have one foot in, you will not follow this. You will not continue with it. The other thing we do in the group is we teach you to get away from MyFitnessPal. So that will be one of the things. Like you will divorce it because you'll have a template. Everybody has templates in there. We all, whether you build it yourself, if someone has already built it, like we had, in fact, she might be on here. She shouldn't because she's my client now, but someone that did the 21-day challenge last time, her name's Amy as well. She built her diet. Then she came in the group, and since she'd already spent so much time building her diet, she actually sent it to me just to she's like, I've already done all the like moving things around. Can you just approve it for me? So then I went through it and saw that it was totally good and kind of helped her with a few tips. And then she was good to go. That way, then when we got on those coaching calls, we can go through it live. Like, okay, guys, now we're checking in. What was your dietary adherence like? What was your biofeedback like? We do all of that so that everyone is growing together. Some people are on dieting breaks, they're increasing calories. I'm advising on that. Eric's advising on that. The way it works is Eric and I alternate weeks. So I do all the check-ins for the dietary tracking, like 2-week, 4-week, 6-week, 8-week. We did our 10-week. And Eric trains on the alternate weeks. This last time, the topics were like, should I be dieting right now? The next one was the red flags of, why I shouldn't be dieting. One was how to reverse diet, things like that. Intermittent fasting, because it is a stress it elevates your cortisol. And then I would say the other reason for it, there is a doctor that I really love her for her menopausal, you might know her, Dr. Mary Claire. She's huge, but her Galveston diet is absolutely garbage. You do not want to be intermittent fasting. And this is where even Eric would say, Dr. Mary Claire, stay in your lane. You know hormones, you do not know nutrition. You do not know the effect it is having. And we just see it with, and then the second reason would be you're unable to get your protein in. It's really, really hard if you're doing a very short window to get in, the amounts. I would say naturally, we all probably fast 12 hours anyways. That's not bad at all. That's actually probably beneficial. It's that when we're going into the 14 to 16-hour window, the studies just show it's actually more of a stress on our hormones, our sex hormones. Um, yeah, you feel the same way. I was, Eric, I love her outside of that. That was the only thing was the diet, and he was just like, man, I would love to have like a conversation with her because everything else is just spot on. So I wanted to keep this to an hour. I am going to link. So Look Like You Train actually opens up for enrollment officially on Monday. But those of you that are on here, we're opening it up. We said we cap our group. Okay. So last time we capped it at 580. This time we're capping it at 600. That's it. So we really don't like to grow this group intentionally. We've been doing this for 4 years. We only want it to grow by the amount that we know that we can nurture because we're pretty protective. You'll see people that will put up like that they're in the group. Like it is a sacred place. We share videos of us training. Like it is only females. I'm sorry, for the guys in here, like it is for the females. But it is, we officially start our training on June 3rd. So by joining early, one, you'd get access into the group early. So you'd get a head start on getting into your meal template, right? You'd be able to start it. Because once we start the program, we head right into the nutritional diets because we try to teach it like a runway where I'm like, hey, week 1 is kickoff of the diet, guys. Get your diet together and come to the meeting. Because a lot of you have been chronic dieters, let's be real. And so it's really hard to kind of push into like hard starts of things when you feel like you've been on this rodeo forever. So that let me just find the link actually really quick. I didn't set this up. Let's see here. To sign up. So everything gets delivered through we use the Train Heroic app where your training will come through there. And then, like I said, our Facebook group it's the hub. It's the place where we have all of the support and just friendship, everything. And this is the link to it. We'll be sending this recording out along with a link to sign up. But like I said, we start in less than 2 weeks, like 8 days away, and these diets will already be done for you. But listen, I encourage you, those of you that are, hey, maybe you already have a training program and you're already doing something, build out your diet, stay in the community, ask me all the questions you want, and we want to see you have success with this. I truly believe if you start this and you're like, Amy, this just seems like a lot of food, more the reason. This is telling me that you are really under eating. If I at 140 can eat 2150, think about that, ladies. If you weigh 200 and you can't even maintain it that and you're scared to eat 2000 calories, this is telling you something. And if you keep the cycle of under eating, you're going to have no muscle. You will be what we call the melted candle. And hey, from a physique standpoint, fine. But now what we know about muscle and what it does for longevity, vitality, like how it helps manage your blood sugar. Like, come on, we want more muscle. We need to be eating more. We don't want to just be there in a skinny fat way. So I hope this has been helpful for you. We really have loved, having you in the community. And I'll share the recording later. Share it with friends. Share the Look Like You Train group. I mean, it's so much fun to do it with a friend. Come in and do it with a buddy because then you guys can, complain about leg day together. All right. When you guys, any other questions you have, leave in our Facebook group. See you.